So I'd encourage young players, find your method, have your process, and just focus, stay in the moment, stay in the present. Because, as I said, you can't control the past and you can't control the future, so there's no point worrying about them.
Now, one of the things that Jason Gillespie is always asked, and it's a very obvious question, is about his batting. But I'm not going to ask the obvious question. It's because someone on Twitter, one of my friends, I think you've also seen that tweet. Instead, I'm going to rephrase that question and ask you, as a Test double centurion, what would be your tips or advice to a young batsman who wants to score big in the subcontinent?
Well, look, I think it's, for me, batting, I always linked it back to, I had a real process with my bowling, how I went about my bowling. I had some keys that I felt were keys to my success, or potential keys to my success as a bowler, and I had a bit of a process. So I just applied that mindset to my batting, and I didn't have the skills of the top order players, but I knew I had a role to play. So I was very clear what my role was. You know, my game was based on defence and occupying the crease for as long as I could, and supporting my partner at the other end, who more often than not was a frontline batsman. So I was very clear with my role, and because I think in any sport, in any walk of life, if you're absolutely crystal clear in what is expected of you, what your role is, you have much more chance of succeeding at that role. So for me, from a batting point of view, be very clear, understand exactly what your role is, and then have a process in terms of how you go about your batting. And for me, I was a lower order player, so I knew I was going to get good deliveries from the bowlers. So I was going to play and miss. I was going to play a bad shot or whatever. But I had to learn to put that aside. So because that's happened in the past. So put that aside. Not worry about could happen in the future, because that hasn't happened yet. So there's no point worrying about it. Just make sure I'm focusing on the moment, on that next delivery. And it is a bit of an old cliche, just focus on the next ball. But that's where my energy had to be. Because if my energy was dwelling on what happened in the past or thinking about what could happen in the future, it was taking my focus on that moment. And I needed all my energy and all my focus to be in that moment to allow me the best chance to, one, survive that delivery, and two, potentially score runs off that delivery. So that's how I operated. And, you know, I was fortunate enough to have some good partnerships in Test cricket. I always reflected on my batting on the partnerships I had with, particularly with the batters that I was batting with, because I was there to support them as a lower order player. That was my job. And so if I could support them in any way I can, whether it's good running between wickets, it's just having a chat to them between overs, keeping them focused. I saw that as an important role for me out there in the middle. And if I could do that, you know, even keep it lighthearted out in the middle, especially if there's some tense times. So just whatever the situation dictated, that's how I went about it. But as I said, everyone's got their own method and their own way of doing things. So I'd encourage young players, find your method, have your process, and just focus, stay in the moment, stay in the present. Because, as I said, you can't control the past and you can't control the future, so there's no point worrying about them.